Thanksgiving Day, my brother curled his lip and said, "Don't bring your family. They're embarrassing and nowhere near my level." I showed up with all of them anyway, and when he started trashing them in front of everyone, I lifted my glass and said, "Here's to my spoiled brother who thinks he's wealthy-o, and I'm done funding your fancy lifestyle." That was the moment I cut him off for good. Imagine your own brother, the one you've bankrolled for years, actually telling you your kids are low class and not welcome at his swanky Thanksgiving dinner. Well, he said it. And when he then tried to humiliate them in front of everyone, I rose to the occasion. I toasted my rich brother, and then, in front of all his high society friends, I cut him off. Completely. I'm Clara, I'm 34, and last Thanksgiving, everything changed between my brother, Leo, and me. It started innocently enough. Leo's glossy invitation arrived in the mail, all gold foil and heavy cardstock, announcing his annual holiday soiree. I actually felt a little flutter of excitement. But then the phone call came. "Clara," Leo began, his voice dripping with artificial sweetness, "about Thanksgiving dinner. Just you, darling. Don't bring Lily and Noah. They're just not on my level." His words sliced right through me, like icicles piercing my heart. 15 years. 15 years of me supporting his extravagant lifestyle, working double shifts as a pediatric nurse, raising my two incredible kids on my own. And this? This was my thanks? I knew right then I had a monumental decision to make. You see, I've always been the responsible one. While my younger brother, Leo, chased dreams of luxury and social climbing, I built a life centered on what truly mattered. My children, Lily, 10, and Noah, 8, they are my entire world. Our modest 3-bedroom rental might not ever grace the pages of a magazine, but it's bursting with laughter, sticky fingerprints, and an abundance of love. As a pediatric nurse at County General, I often pull those grueling double shifts. It's exhausting, truly. But seeing Lily and Noah thrive, knowing I'm providing for them, makes every single weary hour absolutely worth it. Leo and I, we took wildly different paths from day one. We grew up sharing a bedroom in suburban Michigan, floral wallpaper, bunk beds, but we might as well have been from different planets. I hoarded my allowance for books for college. Leo? Every single penny went to fashion magazines and status symbols. I can still vividly hear his 16-year-old declaration, "I'm going to marry rich and never worry about money again." Our parents, bless their hearts, were hardworking teachers. They instilled in us the value of education, compassion, hard work. They'd exchange worried glances whenever Leo made such pronouncements. Dad would gently remind us that character outlasts possessions. Mom always emphasized that true success comes from contribution, not acquisition. Those lessons became the bedrock of my life. For Leo, they seemed to just bounce right off. After college, where I'd hustled through nursing on scholarships and worked every part-time job imaginable, I started my career. I met Mark, who became the father of my children. Our relationship didn't last. He wasn't ready for the responsibilities of a family. But he gave me Lily and Noah, two of the greatest gifts I could ever ask for, before moving across the country. He sends child support checks sometimes, when he remembers, but we've learned to manage without ever really counting on them. Meanwhile, Leo? He dropped out of community college pretty quickly after meeting Marcus, the son of a wildly successful real estate developer. Their whirlwind romance led to a lavish wedding that our parents couldn't even dream of contributing much toward. I still remember emptying my entire modest savings just to help pay for the flowers. The flowers Leo simply insisted he needed for his extravagant nuptials. He promised to pay me back someday. That day never, ever came. Instead, a pattern emerged. Leo would call me, sometimes in a panic, about an overdue credit card bill, claiming it would ruin his reputation. Or he'd mention, ever so casually, how embarrassed he'd be if he couldn't join Marcus's colleagues' wives for their exclusive spa weekend or a golf trip. Each time, I'd transfer the money, always with the understanding that it was just until things settled. But, of course, things never settled. Over those 15 years, I funneled nearly $60,000 of my hard-earned money into maintaining my brother's meticulously crafted facade. Why did I do it? It's complicated. Part of me still saw the terrified little boy who'd climb into my bed during thunderstorms. Part of me felt this immense responsibility for his happiness, for keeping him afloat. And honestly, a naive part of me actually believed his promises that once he and Marcus made it big, they'd repay everything with interest. What Marcus didn't know, what no one knew except Leo and me, was that his family's immense wealth was mostly tied up in properties, not easily accessible for daily luxuries. His monthly income barely covered their mortgage and basic needs. Leo's designer wardrobe, his spa treatments, the lavish parties he hosted, they were largely funded by his low-class nurse's salary. Every single year, Leo's Thanksgiving gathering became more extravagant, and his attitude? More insufferable, more condescending. Just last year, he'd casually referred to my sensible sedan as quaint and, with a saccharine smile, suggested Lily might benefit from elocution lessons. I remember swallowing my pride so hard it almost choked me, clinging to my parents' mantra of family loyalty above all. My children, bless their innocent hearts, adored their Uncle Leo, despite everything. They only saw the glamorous man who gave them extravagant gifts and lived in what they believed was a real-life mansion. Lily had been chattering about Leo's Thanksgiving party for weeks, especially thrilled about the rumored 12-foot holiday centerpiece, decked out in color-coordinated autumnal decorations, and the mythical chocolate fountain Leo had mentioned during his last fleeting visit. Noah, my sweet boy, had proudly crafted a special ornament for his uncle's holiday decor in art class, a clay turkey, painstakingly painted in rich fall colors with glitter dusting its edges. He'd wrapped it so carefully in tissue paper, asking me over and over, "Do you think Uncle Leo will really like it, Mom?" "He likes fancy things," he'd added, his small face serious, as he added yet another protective layer of tissue. The infamous invitation, that thick cream cardstock with its obnoxious gold embossing, had arrived in early November. It announced their annual holiday soirée, a word Leo loved using. We'd marked the date on our calendar, my little family and I, and started our preparations. Saving a little each week for appropriate hostess gifts and, yes, even appropriate outfits. And then came that phone call that shattered everything. When I finally hung up the phone after Leo's shocking, utterly brazen request, my hands were shaking so violently I had to collapse into a chair. His cruel words just hammered in my mind. Asterisk low class. Not on my level. Asterisk, I flashed back to all those nights I'd eaten ramen, just so I could send him money for yet another manufactured crisis. The family vacation to the Grand Canyon we'd heartbreakingly canceled because Leo needed help with his property taxes. The second job I'd secretly taken. Cleaning medical offices on weekends, when Marcus's company had a temporary downturn and Leo simply couldn't do without. My first instinct? To call him back and tell him exactly where he could put his glossy, gold-embossed Thanksgiving invitation. But instead, I texted my best friend, Sarah, who showed up at my door with a bottle of wine minutes after her shift at the hospital where we both worked. "What?" Sarah exclaimed, pouring us both a generous, much-needed glass. "After everything you've done for him, Clara? You need to cut him off. Completely." It's not that simple," I sighed, glancing toward Lily and Noah's bedrooms, where they were quietly doing their homework. "They adore their uncle. And despite everything, he's still my brother." Sarah just shook her head, a familiar exasperation on her face. "Your brother is taking advantage of you, Clara. He has been for years. You work 60-hour weeks while he's posting filtered Instagram photos from luxury resorts." "I know," I admitted, the truth a bitter taste in my mouth. "But family is family. Mom and Dad always taught us to stick together." "Your parents also taught you about dignity and self-respect, Clara," Sarah countered, her voice firm. "Would they want you to be treated this way?" That question. It lingered. It gnawed at me long after Sarah left, echoing in the quiet of my small home. The very next morning, my heart ached when I found Lily tracing the red star we'd marked on the calendar, counting down the days till Leo's party. "How many more sleeps, Mom?" she asked, her eyes shining. "I want to see if his pool is frozen again like last year." Noah joined us, clutching his carefully wrapped ornament. Do you think Uncle Marcus will do the scavenger hunt again? I almost found the golden candy cane last time. Their innocent excitement, their pure, unadulterated joy, made my decision 1,000 times harder. How could I possibly crush their spirits? How could I tell them we weren't welcome? That their own uncle thought they weren't good enough? That the thoughtful presents they'd helped me pick out, a beautiful handcrafted scarf for Leo, a special fishing book for Marcus, weren't sophisticated enough for his impossible standards? That evening, I pulled out a dusty memory box. Inside, a treasure trove of photos, Leo and me building sandcastles at Lake Michigan, riding bikes with streamers on the handlebars, opening presents in matching pajamas, our childhood innocence captured forever. When, I wondered, my fingers tracing old images. When had money and status twisted him so completely that they overshadowed all these precious shared memories? Then, my father's words echoed in my mind, the words he'd spoken when Leo first announced he was marrying Marcus. Just remember who you are, sweetheart, where you come from. Money changes circumstances, not character. Dad had been gone 5 years now, Mom 3. What would they tell me to do in this impossible situation? The answer, surprisingly, came with crystal clarity. They would tell me to stand up for myself, to stand up for my children, but also to always leave the door open for reconciliation, for the possibility of family. That night, my resolve hardened. My decision was made. We would attend the Thanksgiving gathering. All 3 of us. If Leo wanted to make a scene in front of his carefully curated, high society friends, then that would be his choice. But I would no longer enable his ridiculous delusion of grandeur at the expense of my children's dignity. Or, more importantly, my own self-respect. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind of meticulous preparation. I used my holiday bonus, a modest sum, but a bonus nonetheless, to buy Lily a beautiful emerald green dress that made her eyes absolutely sparkle. For Noah, I found a handsome little suit at a consignment shop. It looked brand new, unworn. I even splurged on having their outfits professionally pressed and scheduled appointments at the salon where my friend Lisa worked for proper, party-ready haircuts. For myself, I chose a simple black cocktail dress I'd worn to a hospital fundraiser, adding a statement necklace Sarah had insisted on lending me. If you're going into battle, you need proper armor, she declared, fastening the sparkling pendant around my neck. I also carefully prepared the children. I explained, gently, that sometimes adults have disagreements, but that didn't mean they should worry. And Uncle Leo is very particular about his home, I told them during one of our family dinners. So, we'll need to use our very best manners. And if he seems upset about something, remember that's not about you, okay? That's grown-up stuff. Is Uncle Leo mad at us? Noah asked, his brow furrowed with concern, his small voice full of anxiety. No, sweetheart, I replied, trying to keep my voice light. Uncle Leo just has a different way of doing things. But we're family, and family shows up for each other, even when it's hard. Lily, perceptive far beyond her years, studied my face intently. Are you and Uncle Leo fighting, Mom? I chose my words carefully. We have different ideas about some things, sweetie, but that's okay. People can disagree and still love each other. As Thanksgiving approached, my anxiety levels skyrocketed. I rehearsed every potential scenario in my mind, preparing my responses to whatever Leo might say or do. I reminded myself of all the difficult families I'd handled as a nurse, maintaining my professionalism even when emotions ran brutally high. I could do this. For my children. For myself. And yes, even for Leo, who, somewhere deep beneath his designer clothes and crushing status anxiety, was still my little brother. The night before the party, I checked our hostess gifts one last time. The handmade scarf for Leo, wrapped in silver paper with a blue velvet bow. Marcus's fishing book, accompanied by a selection of hand-tied flies I'd found at a specialty shop. He'd mentioned wanting to learn fly fishing last year. And for their opulent home, a hand-blown glass ornament from a local artist, not expensive, but truly thoughtful and unique. I barely slept that night, my mind racing through every possible outcome of our uninvited appearance at Leo's soiree. By morning, though, a strange calm had settled over me. I'd made peace with whatever might happen. We were going. We were showing up. heads held high, dignity intact, ready to celebrate Thanksgiving as a family. Whether Leo approved or not. On Thanksgiving Eve, the imposing iron gates of Leo and Marcus's estate loomed before us. Fresh snow had fallen overnight, transforming the sprawling 5-acre property into something straight out of a glossy holiday card. Pristine white blanketed the rolling lawns, and evergreen trees dotted the landscape, each one perfectly wrapped in twinkling white lights. A team of workers was already clearing the circular driveway as we approached the 3-story Georgian mansion. Wow, Lily breathed, her face pressed against the car window. It's like a castle. Noah clutched his wrapped ornament tighter. Do real princesses live in houses like this? Just your Uncle Leo, I replied, trying to keep my tone light as I parked behind a line of luxury vehicles, Mercedes, BMWs, and a Bentley I recognized as belonging to Marcus's father. The mansion's facade was decorated with professional, almost sterile, precision, garlands framing every window, life-size nutcrackers flanking the massive front door, and a tasteful, albeit overwhelming, arrangement of poinsettias cascading down the stone steps. I'd seen similar displays in architectural magazines, but never this up close. Lily and Noah clambered out of the car, their excitement palpable, carefully navigating the cleared pathway in their brand-new dress shoes. I followed, more slowly, balancing our gifts and a homemade cranberry bread I'd baked that morning, a recipe from our mother that Leo had always adored as a child. Before we could even ring the bell, the massive oak door swung open. There stood Leo, breathtakingly sharp in a crimson designer suit that probably cost more than 3 months of my mortgage payments. His perfect hair was impeccably styled, and a diamond stud sparkled at his ear. For a split second, genuine, unadulterated shock registered on his face. Then he quickly composed himself into a tight, almost painful smile. "Clara," he said, his voice artificially bright, and everyone. What a surprise. His eyes darted behind us, subtly checking if any other important guests had witnessed our unexpected arrival. Finding the coast clear, he stepped back, reluctantly, to let us enter. "I thought we discussed this," he hissed quietly, his smile still plastered on for any potential eavesdroppers, as the children moved past him into the soaring entryway with its colossal 20-foot holiday centerpiece. "We did," I replied, my voice calm, steady. "And I decided my children deserved to spend Thanksgiving with their family. All of their family." Before he could respond, Marcus appeared behind him, his warm smile a stark, welcome contrast to his partner's frosty reception. "Clara, kids. Wonderful to see you." He embraced me genuinely, then knelt to high-five Noah and complimented Lily on her emerald dress. "The more the merrier, right, darling?" he added, giving Leo a pointed glance. "Of course," he replied, his voice now a tight, strained whisper through clenched teeth. "Let me show you where to put your things." He eyed our wrapped packages with barely disguised disdain. As we followed him through the marble-floored foyer, I could see about 30 guests mingling in the cavernous great room beyond. The air was filled with classical holiday music, piped from hidden speakers, and uniformed servers circulated with trays of champagne and tiny, elaborate hors d'oeuvres. "Marcus's parents are here, along with the Andersons and the Taylors," Leo informed me, name-dropping local socialites with practiced ease. "Oh, and the Wilsons just flew in from Aspen this morning. Jack Wilson is considering Marcus for their new development project." I recognized this for what it was, a thinly veiled warning. A reminder that important people were present, and I needed to behave accordingly. Translation: "Don't embarrass him. The children can put their coats in the mudroom," he continued, pointing toward a side hallway. "There's a media room downstairs where they can watch movies. Brittany, our sitter, is down there with the Andersons' kids." Actually, I interjected gently, a small, defiant spark igniting within me. Lily and Noah were really looking forward to the party. "Noah even made you a special ornament for your holiday decor." On cue, Noah proudly held up his tissue-wrapped creation. "I made it myself, Uncle Leo." A flicker of something, annoyance, panic, then a swift masking, crossed Leo's perfect features. He took the package with just his fingertips, as if accepting a questionable laboratory sample. "How thoughtful." I'll just put this somewhere safe for now. Our decorator used a very specific color scheme this year. Noah's face fell slightly. He nodded bravely, trying to hide his hurt. But Marcus, who had been observing this painful exchange, quickly intervened. Hey, Noah, why don't you show me this masterpiece? I bet it would look perfect on the family tree in the den. That's where we put all our special ornaments. As Marcus led Noah away, I could have hugged him for his unexpected kindness. Leo, meanwhile, practically dragged Lily and me toward the great room, whispering a fresh set of instructions as we walked. Try not to mention your job, Clara. The Wilsons are germaphobes, and hospital talk makes them uncomfortable. And if anyone asks where you live, just say north of the city rather than naming your actual neighborhood. Before I could even begin to process these deeply offensive suggestions, we were pushed into the gathering of Leo's carefully curated guests. Conversations momentarily paused, polite smiles plastered on as curious eyes assessed the newcomers. I felt Lily press closer to my side, suddenly small and shy amidst these unfamiliar, impeccably dressed adults. Within minutes, Lily was drawn away by another young girl her age, a natural magnet for children, leaving me momentarily alone. I accepted a flute of champagne from a passing server, taking a small, fortifying sip, using the moment to simply observe the room. The decor was breathtaking, crystal, silver, and white, with opulent accents of deep burgundy. Fresh flowers bloomed from every surface, and a massive stone fireplace crackled with a perfectly arranged, intimidating fire. I was admiring an intricate ice sculpture of a cornucopia when I overheard Leo speaking to two impeccably dressed women near the bar. Yes, that's my sister, he was saying, his voice a low, theatrical murmur. Single mom, works at the hospital. I try to include her when I can. You know, charity begins at home and all that. The women nodded sympathetically, one even patting Leo's arm in apparent admiration of his generosity. I felt my cheeks burn with indignant heat, but I stubbornly maintained my composure, remembering my purpose for being here. This wasn't about me. It was about my children experiencing a family Thanksgiving, about them learning that they were worthy of respect, regardless of our zip code or the price tag on their clothes. After about 30 excruciating minutes of polite small talk with various guests, most of whom looked genuinely surprised to learn Leo even had a sister, I excused myself to check on my kids. I found Lily, my sweet, nurturing Lily, helping younger children with a craft project, her patient instructions a testament to her kind spirit. Noah was in the wood-paneled den, proudly showing Marcus's father his special ornament, now hanging prominently on a smaller, more intimate holiday tree. As I watched them, a shadow fell over me. Leo, we need to talk, he said, his voice terse, almost a snarl, as he guided me into a nearby powder room and swiftly closed the door. What were you thinking, showing up after what I told you? He demanded, arms rigidly crossed over his impossibly expensive designer suit. I was thinking that family doesn't exclude family from Thanksgiving, I replied, my voice remarkably even, considering the volcano erupting inside me. And that my children deserve better than to be deemed low class by their own uncle. You know what I meant, he huffed, his eyes flashing. This is an important night for Marcus's business connections. I need everything to be perfect, and we're imperfect. How exactly are we imperfect? I challenged him. Because we don't wear designer labels? Because Noah's ornament doesn't match your meticulous color scheme. Don't be so dramatic, Clara. Leo rolled his eyes. You know how these things work. Appearances matter. To who, Leo? To these people you're trying so desperately to impress? Do they know that half your appearances are actually funded by your nurse sister's salary? His eyes widened in genuine alarm. Keep your voice down. And that's not fair. I've had some temporary cash flow issues. That's all. 15 years of temporary issues, I pointed out, my voice dangerously calm. But we're not discussing that now. We're here as family. The children are behaving beautifully and will continue to do so. I suggest you do the same. Without waiting for his stunned response, I opened the door and walked back out into the party. My heart was pounding like a drum, but my resolve was stronger than ever. Whatever manipulative game Leo was playing, I was no longer a willing participant. At 7 o'clock, a server gently struck a crystal chime, signaling that dinner was ready. Guests began migrating toward the formal dining room, where a table that could comfortably seat 30 was arranged with a precision that would impress a military general. Fine china, gleaming sterling silver, and sparkling crystal glassware caught the light of an antique chandelier. Each place setting included 3 wine glasses, multiple forks, and a beautifully hand-calligraphed name card. It was then, with a sharp pang, that I noticed there were no place cards for Lily, Noah, or me. Leo approached, feigning dismay at the oversight. "Oh dear, it seems our calligrapher didn't prepare cards for you, Clara, since you weren't on the original guest list." He said it loudly enough for nearby guests to hear, a cruel, subtle jab. "Let me just rearrange things," he added, again, loud enough for an audience. Marcus, bless his heart, intervened smoothly. "No problem at all. Kids, would you like to sit by me? And Clara, there's plenty of room between Mrs. Wilson and my mother." As we settled into our assigned seats, mine between 2 older women who regarded me with polite, if slightly bewildered, curiosity, I noticed Leo whispering to a server. The server nodded, disappeared briefly, and returned with 3 place settings that clearly, blatantly, didn't match the rest of the table. The message wasn't subtle. We were afterthoughts. Accommodated, yes, but certainly not truly welcome. The first course arrived, a delicate butternut squash soup, garnished with truffle oil and microgreens. Noah eyed it suspiciously before taking a tentative spoonful. Lily, always more adventurous with food, dug in with enthusiasm. "So, Clara," began Mrs. Wilson, Marcus's potential business partner's wife, her tone surprisingly warm, "Leo tells us you work at a hospital." "Yes, I'm a pediatric nurse at County General," I replied, meeting her gaze directly. "How noble," she said, with what seemed like genuine admiration. "My sister volunteered at a children's hospital last year. She found it quite intense." "It can be challenging," I agreed, "but also incredibly rewarding. There's nothing quite like helping a child through illness and seeing them recover." "And you're raising 2 children on your own?" asked Marcus's mother from my other side, her tone kind, not judgmental. "Yes, Lily and Noah. They're wonderful kids." "They certainly seem to be," she nodded approvingly, glancing toward where they sat with Marcus. "Well-mannered and bright. You should be proud." This simple, heartfelt acknowledgement nearly brought tears to my eyes after Leo's relentless dismissiveness. "Thank you," I managed, my voice thick. "I am." Across the table, Leo was holding court, regaling everyone with tales of their recent weekend at a luxury resort in Vail. "The private lessons were worth every penny," he declared, preening. "The instructor used to train Olympic athletes." "Speaking of expense," interjected a man I recognized as Marcus's college friend, "how's that investment opportunity Marcus mentioned last month? Did you decide to buy in?" Marcus looked momentarily uncomfortable. "We're still considering our options. The timing might not be right with the new pool house renovations." "Oh, we're definitely moving forward with the pool house." Leo corrected him, his voice firm. "I've already approved the final designs, imported marble, smart home integration throughout. It's going to be featured in Modern Luxury magazine." Marcus's surprise was evident, but he quickly masked it. I wondered, with a fresh wave of indignation, how many of Leo's unilateral, extravagant decisions were funded by my loans. The second course arrived, a frisee salad with poached pears and candied walnuts. Noah frowned at the unfamiliar greens, but catching my encouraging nod, he bravely took a bite. "And what neighborhood do you live in, Clara?" asked a woman further down the table, her diamond earrings catching the light as she tilted her head. Before I could answer, Leo, ever vigilant, interjected smoothly, "Clara lives in a charming area north of the city, very up and coming." "Elmwood Park," I stated clearly, cutting through his narrative. "It's a wonderful community, with excellent schools and parks." The woman's expression revealed she wasn't familiar with the middle-class suburb, but she nodded politely. "And what school do your children attend?" she continued. "My grandson just started at Lakeside Academy." Leo again tried to intercept. "They're in the public school system. Clara is very involved in their education." Lily and Noah attend Elmwood Elementary, I said directly, looking the woman in the eye. Lily's in the gifted program for mathematics, and Noah is absolutely thriving in their arts curriculum. As I spoke, Noah, in a moment of childish clumsiness, accidentally knocked over his water glass. The crystal tumbled, splashing water across the pristine tablecloth. His small face crumpled in instant mortification. "I'm so sorry," he gasped, frantically trying to mop up the spill with his napkin. Before I could reassure him, Leo's voice, sharp and cutting, sliced through the momentary hush. "This is exactly why children should eat separately until they're properly trained for formal dining." The cruel comment hung in the air, a poisonous cloud. Noah's lower lip trembled, and I saw Lily's shoulders visibly stiffen in defense of her brother. Marcus, bless him again, quickly handed Noah his own napkin. "No harm done, buddy. I did much worse at my parents' dinner party when I was your age, knocked over an entire gravy boat onto my father's boss." His father chuckled in confirmation. "Ruined a perfectly good suit, but suits can be replaced. Good company can't." The warm, supportive response from Marcus and his father seemed to further infuriate Leo, whose smile had grown increasingly rigid as the evening progressed. As servers cleared the salad plates, he tried to regain control, directing the conversation toward his recent charity work, organizing a fundraiser for the art museum's new wing. "We raised over $300,000, he boasted, puffing out his chest. "The chairman said it was the most successful event in their history." "That's wonderful," commented Marcus's mother. "Which programs will benefit specifically?" Leo hesitated, clearly unfamiliar with the actual purpose of the fundraiser beyond its social prestige. "Oh, various educational initiatives, of course." "Actually," offered another guest, "I believe it's primarily funding the new contemporary exhibition space. My wife is on the museum board." Leo's smile tightened further. "Yes, exactly. That's what I meant." The main course arrived, herb-crusted rack of lamb with truffle mashed potatoes and haricot verts. As the servers presented each plate with choreographed precision, I caught Lily staring at the bewildering array of utensils with profound uncertainty. "Start from the outside and work your way in," I whispered, having painstakingly researched formal dining etiquette before our arrival. Leo noticed this whispered exchange and seized the opportunity. "Lily, darling, that's your salad fork you're using. The dinner fork is the larger one." Lily blushed crimson, quickly switching utensils. "It's hard to keep track when there are so many," Leo continued, addressing the entire table with a condescending sigh. "Proper table manners are really something that should be taught from an early age, but I suppose in public schools, they have other priorities." Several guests shifted uncomfortably at this transparent, ugly dig. Marcus's mother raised an eyebrow, but wisely remained silent. Marcus himself was engaged in an animated conversation with Noah about dinosaurs, deliberately ignoring his partner's comment. "Actually," I responded, my voice still even, but a steely edge entering it. "Lily and Noah have perfectly lovely manners. They're just not accustomed to 8-piece place settings, but they're quick learners." "Of course they are," Marcus's mother agreed, giving Lily an encouraging smile. "And you're doing just fine, dear. I still mix up my forks sometimes, and I've been attending formal dinners for 40 years. Leo, thwarted once again in his attempts to overtly embarrass my children, turned his attention to the hand-blown glass ornament I'd brought, now displayed on a side table with other hostess gifts. "Clara brought the most interesting ornament," he announced, his tone dripping with fall sweetness. "It's quite folksy, isn't it? Handmade by a local artist," he added, as if describing a novelty souvenir. "May I see it?" asked Marcus's mother, who seemed genuinely interested. The ornament was passed to her, and she examined it with sincere appreciation. "This is beautiful workmanship. Is this from that new glass studio downtown? I've been meaning to visit." "Yes, Firelight Studios," I confirmed, feeling a small surge of vindication. "The artist trained in Venice before opening his shop here." "I must get his information before I leave," she said, handing the ornament back with care. "This would make a lovely gift for my sister." Leo's attempt to diminish my thoughtful gift had spectacularly backfired, adding to his visibly growing frustration. As the dinner progressed through its final courses, a sophisticated cheese selection, then a delicate chocolate mousse, his comments became increasingly pointed, more insidious. When Noah mentioned his school's upcoming science fair, he remarked, with an air of pity, how fortunate the private school children were to have actual laboratories with proper equipment. When Lily shyly shared that she'd made the honor roll, Leo noted, with a slight, superior sniff, that the standards must be different in public education, since every child at Lakeside Academy is required to maintain at least a 3.8 GPA. Each comment was delivered with that same chilling, fake smile that never quite reached his eyes, each one meticulously designed to establish the undeniable superiority of his world over ours. I maintained my composure. I reminded myself again and again that my children were watching. They were learning from how I handled this. But as I observed Lily's gradually wilting posture, her proud shoulders slumping, and Noah's increasingly forced, desperate smile, something profound shifted inside me. The accumulation of years of accepting Leo's casual condescension, of unknowingly financing his delusions, of prioritizing family peace over my own personal dignity, it all crystallized into a sudden, undeniable, blinding resolve. The absolute final straw. When Leo mockingly praised Noah's department store suit as adorable, and then, with a barely concealed sneer, suggested I consider the children's consignment shop, where struggling families find nice second-hand clothes, I saw it. The tears forming, slowly, painfully, in my son's innocent eyes. And in that precise, agonizing moment, I knew. The time for polite tolerance was irrevocably over. Done. Finished. I stood up. Slowly. Smoothing my dress with a deliberate, almost terrifying calmness. "Excuse me," I said, my voice steady, resonant, filling the sudden hush in the room. "I'd like to propose a toast." The room quieted completely. Guests turned towards me, some looking curious, others profoundly uncomfortable. Leo's face, for the first time all night, registered genuine alarm. A server, almost instinctively, handed me a champagne flute. First, I began, my gaze sweeping over the silent faces. "I want to thank Leo and Marcus for including us in their truly beautiful Thanksgiving celebration." I paused, letting the words hang in the air. Family gatherings are precious, especially during the holidays. Leo's expression relaxed slightly, a flicker of relief crossing his features. He probably thought I was going to smooth things over. "And now," I continued, my voice unwavering, "I'd like to toast my brother." I turned my gaze directly to Leo, holding it firm. To Leo, who has created this impressive life for himself and has always had such discerning taste. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. Leo, misinterpreting the moment entirely, actually smiled triumphantly. "Such discerning taste, in fact," I continued, my voice now dropping to a chillingly precise tone, "that maintaining it has cost approximately $4,000 a month for the past 15 years. The room fell utterly, shockingly silent. Leo's triumphant smile froze, then slowly melted into an expression of utter disbelief and horror. "You see," I explained conversationally, addressing the stunned faces around me, "while Leo has been sharing these charming stories about my supposedly humble life, he's conveniently neglected to mention that his designer wardrobe, his spa memberships, his luxury vacations, and frankly, many of the opulent furnishings in this beautiful home have been quite generously subsidized by his low-class sister, the nurse. The one who apparently isn't quite good enough to attend his Thanksgiving dinner." Gasps. Uncomfortable shifting. A cacophony of whispers suddenly filled the room. Marcus's face showed complete confusion, then a slow, dawning comprehension, a look of utter betrayal. "For those of you who are mathematically inclined," I continued, my voice still calmly detached, "that's approximately $720,000 over 15 years. Money that, perhaps, could have gone toward my children's college funds. Or maybe even purchasing a home in a neighborhood Leo might find more acceptable." I pulled out my phone, navigating to my banking app. "I have records," I stated, holding it up, "of every single transfer. Every bill paid. Every credit card statement covered when Leo called in a panic because his card was declined at Neiman Marcus or the spa. Clara, stop it. Leo hissed, his face now drained of all color, his voice barely a breath. You're embarrassing yourself. No, Leo, I countered, meeting his panicked gaze head-on. For the first time in 15 years, I'm not embarrassing myself. I'm simply telling the truth. I turned to address Marcus directly, my voice softening slightly. Marcus, I'm truly sorry you're finding this out this way. I honestly believed Leo when he said you knew about our financial arrangement. I see now that wasn't true. Marcus's expression was a horrifying mixture of shock, anger, and utter betrayal as he stared at his partner. Leo, he choked out, his voice raw. What is he talking about? Leo's composure finally spectacularly cracked. She's exaggerating, he cried, his voice high and desperate. It was just a few loans when we were getting established. Nothing like what she's claiming. Let's see, I replied, scrolling through my phone, pausing dramatically on the screen. Last month alone, $3,000 for the landscaping deposit. $800 for your spa weekend. $1,200 for the designer boots you couldn't live without. Should I continue? The silence in the room was absolutely deafening. Even the uniformed servers had paused, frozen in place, like statues in the unfolding drama. So, I concluded, raising my glass once more, my voice ringing with a newfound, exhilarating freedom. I'd like to toast my kept brother, who believes he's rich. And to announce that I'll be stopping payment on your luxuries. Effective immediately. Happy Thanksgiving, Leo. I took a slow, deliberate sip of champagne, set down my glass with a gentle clink, and turned to my children. Lily, Noah, it's time for us to go now. Please thank Uncle Marcus for his hospitality. Noah looked confused, his eyes wide, but he obediently thanked Marcus, who seemed too stunned, too utterly shell-shocked to even respond. Lily, with a quiet wisdom far beyond her years, simply nodded, gathered her small purse and intuitively understood that something monumental, something truly significant, had just happened. As we prepared to leave, Marcus's mother, a woman of quiet strength, approached me. Without a word, she pressed something into my hand, her business card, with a personal number scrawled on the back. Call me, she said quietly, her eyes warm. What you did took immense courage. We walked through the now silent, stunned room, past Leo's shell-shocked friends, and retrieved our coats from the mudroom. As we stepped out into the biting cold of the November night, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, a profound lightness. As if an invisible, crushing burden had finally, gloriously, been lifted from my shoulders. We had barely reached my car when I heard footsteps crunching rapidly across the fresh snow behind us. Turning, I saw Marcus approaching, his face a complex, unreadable mixture of anger, confusion, and utter disbelief. Clara, wait, he called, his voice strained. We need to talk about this. Behind him, Leo was hurrying down the mansion steps, his dress shoes woefully inappropriate for the snow, causing him to slip and stumble in his desperate pursuit. Kids, get in the car, please, I said calmly, opening the back doors. Turn on your tablets. I need a few minutes with your uncle and Marcus. Lily and Noah, sensing the immense gravity of the situation, complied without a single argument. Once they were settled, I turned to face my brother and brother-in-law. How dare you? Leo hissed, his voice a low, venomous growl, his face contorted with rage. You've humiliated me in front of everyone who matters. How dare I? I repeated, incredulously, a mirthless laugh escaping me. You called my children low class. You mocked their clothes, their education, their home. You deliberately tried to make them feel inferior. And your concern right now is your humiliation. You've been helping Leo financially? Marcus interrupted, his question directed at me, but his gaze, hard and unwavering, was fixed on his partner. For 15 years? Without my knowledge. Yes, I confirmed simply. Since shortly after your wedding. It started with small amounts. A credit card bill here, a shopping splurge there. Leo always said it was temporary, that you were building your business and couldn't access family funds yet. Over time, the amounts increased. The temporary situation became permanent. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, visibly, agonizingly processing this shattering revelation. The spa memberships, he murmured, almost to himself. The designer wardrobes. The first-class upgrades whenever we travel. Most of it, I nodded. Not everything, of course, but a significant portion. He's exaggerating. Leo interjected desperately, his voice shrill with panic. It was just a few loans when we were getting established. Nothing like what she's claiming. Let me see your phone, Marcus said suddenly, his voice chillingly calm as he held out his hand to me. I hesitated briefly, then unlocked my banking app and handed it to him. He scrolled in utter silence for several moments, his expression growing darker, more devastated, with each swipe. Monthly transfers of $3,000 to $5,000, he read aloud, his voice flat with disbelief. For years. Direct payments to Nordstrom, Saks, the country club. Leo, what the hell is this? Marcus, please. Leo's voice took on a pleading, desperate quality I'd rarely, if ever, heard. It's not what it looks like. Clara offered to help. She wanted to contribute. Contribute? I echoed, a raw edge entering my voice. Leo, I've been working 60-hour weeks, eating ramen for dinner, and putting off home repairs just to fund your lifestyle. I've delayed saving for my children's education to pay for your spa days. You never said no, he countered, his panic-stricken eyes wild. I asked, and you always said yes. That was your choice. Because you're my brother. I replied, my voice finally, utterly breaking, tears stinging my eyes. Because every time, you made it sound like an emergency. Because you promised it was the last time. Because I believed you when you said you'd pay it back someday. Marcus handed my phone back, his expression now completely unreadable. The landscaping for the pool house, he said quietly, his voice laced with dawning horror. You told me your parents had left you a special investment account that matured. Leo faltered. I needed to tell you something. You wouldn't have approved the renovation otherwise. And the trip to Bali last year? Marcus continued, relentless. You said that was a bonus from your interior design client. Marcus, please. Leo whispered, his face crumbling, not out here. No, he replied, his voice hardening. I think out here is exactly where this conversation belongs. We've apparently been living a lie inside those walls for years. As they faced off, a chilling tableau in the snowy night, I became acutely aware of my children waiting in the car, of the cold seeping through my dress coat, of the curious faces watching from the darkened windows of the mansion. This confrontation, I knew, desperately needed to happen. But not like this. This is between you two now, I said firmly, stepping back, drawing a line in the snow. My part in it is over. I won't be sending any more money, Leo. Not a single dollar. You'll need to be honest with Marcus about your finances and make whatever adjustments are necessary. You can't just cut me off. Leo protested, pure panic now edging into his voice. What about the credit card bill due next week? The spa package I've already booked for New Year's? The sheer entitlement in his tone, even then, confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that I was making the right decision. Those are your problems now, Leo, I said, my voice clear and strong. Not mine. I have my own family to take care of. We are your family, he insisted, desperate. Yes, you are, I agreed, my voice softening just a fraction. And family treats each other with respect, not contempt. When you're ready to have a relationship based on mutual respect, rather than financial dependence, I'll be here. Until then, I need to focus on Lily and Noah. Marcus, who had been silent for several moments, suddenly spoke. Clara, I want you to know. I had no idea about any of this. I would never have allowed it if I'd known. I believe you, I said simply. And I'm sorry you're finding out this way. He nodded, then turned to Leo, his face grim. We need to go back inside. Your guests are waiting. But when they leave, you and I are going to have the most honest conversation of our entire marriage. Leo's face crumpled completely, the carefully constructed facade finally, irrevocably collapsing. For a fleeting moment, I glimpsed the vulnerable little brother I'd always tried to protect. The insecure boy who'd felt so ashamed of our modest upbringing that he'd crafted an entirely different identity just to escape it. Part of me, the old Clara, wanted to comfort him, to whisper that everything would be okay, just as I had countless times throughout our lives. But another part, the part that had finally found its courageous voice tonight, knew this was a necessary reckoning for both our sakes. "Goodbye, Leo," I said quietly. "Happy Thanksgiving." As I turned to get into my car, I heard him call my name once more. When I looked back, he stood utterly alone on the snowy driveway, his perfect composure shattered, looking smaller somehow, without Marcus beside him. "What am I supposed to do now?" he asked, and for the first time in years, there was no manipulation in his question. Only raw, genuine fear. "You figure it out," I answered honestly, my voice firm but not unkind. "Like the rest of us do. One day at a time." With that, I got into my car and drove away from the mansion, with its twinkling, mocking lights and silent, watching eyes. Heading back toward our modest home, where the holiday decorations might be smaller, but the love was undeniably real. In the rearview mirror, I could see Lily and Noah's reflections, their expressions solemn, processing the seismic shift they'd just witnessed. Tomorrow, we would talk about it properly. I would explain that sometimes loving someone means setting boundaries. That true worth isn't measured by possessions, but by character. That the truth, however difficult, is always, always better than a beautiful lie. But for tonight, as we drove through the quiet, snow-covered streets, I simply reached back and squeezed their hands, grateful beyond words for the authentic, messy, real life we shared. Free, at long last, from the crushing burden of maintaining someone else's illusion. The drive home from Leo's mansion felt utterly surreal, as if we were traveling between different worlds rather than just different neighborhoods. Holiday lights twinkled along the route, and occasional snowflakes drifted lazily through our headlight beams. In the back seat, Lily and Noah had fallen silent, each processing the evening's dramatic events in their own quiet ways. "Are you mad at Uncle Leo?" Noah finally asked, his voice small, almost a whisper. I considered my answer carefully. "Not mad, exactly, sweetheart. Disappointed. Sometimes people we love make choices that hurt us, and it's okay to feel sad about that." "Is he still our uncle?" Lily's practical question cut straight to the heart of what both children were likely wondering. "Of course he is," I assured them, my voice gentle. Family is forever, even when relationships get complicated. But sometimes, family members need time apart to figure things out. When we finally arrived home, our modest holiday decor greeted us through the front window, its multicolored lights a stark, comforting contrast to Leo's professionally decorated, cold monochrome display. Inside, I kicked off my heels with a sigh of immense relief and suggested an impromptu, various, Thanksgiving Eve celebration of our own. "Let's make hot chocolate and watch a holiday movie," I proposed. "The fancy party wasn't much fun anyway, was it? Can we open one present tonight?" Noah asked hopefully, his natural resilience already reasserting itself. "I think that's a perfect idea," I agreed, a genuine smile finally touching my lips. Within 30 minutes, we had completely transformed our evening. Still wearing our party clothes, but now wrapped in cozy blankets, we sipped homemade hot chocolate, generously topped with mini marshmallows. While a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving played on our television, the children each opened one carefully selected gift, new pajamas that they immediately changed into, and the tension from Leo's mansion gradually melted away in the warmth of our small, loving living room. After the children finally drifted off to sleep, I sat alone by the twinkling holiday decorations, finally allowing myself to process the enormity of what had happened. For 15 years, I had unwittingly enabled Leo's fantasy life, often at the direct expense of my own family's security and well-being. Tonight, I had finally, decisively, broken that destructive cycle. The relief was palpable, almost dizzying. But so was a quiet grief for the authentic relationship I had always yearned to have with my brother. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "How did it go?" I typed out a brief summary, ending with, "I'll call you tomorrow with details. Kids are asleep." "I'm okay." She responded immediately. "Proud of you. Happy Thanksgiving to you. No more subsidizing ungrateful siblings." Thanksgiving morning arrived with a fresh blanket of snow and excited children who, blessedly, temporarily forgot the previous night's drama in the pure joy of opening presents. We video called Mark, their father, who wished them happy Thanksgiving from his new home in California. Though our romantic relationship had ended years ago, we maintained a cordial connection for the children's sake. Around noon, my phone rang with an unknown number. It was Marcus. "Clara," he began, his voice sounding utterly exhausted. "I hope I'm not interrupting your Thanksgiving." "You're not, thank you," I replied, stepping into the kitchen for privacy. "We got home safely last night. How are things there?" He sighed heavily. "Difficult. Beyond difficult." After the guests left, Leo and I talked. Really talked. For the first time in years. I had no idea about the financial arrangement between you two. I'm still processing it all. "I understand," I said, my voice gentle. "It's a lot to take in. I want you to know I've frozen the credit cards and asked for a complete audit of our finances," he continued, his voice grim. "The extent of the deception, it's larger than even you knew. There are loans in my name I never authorized. Accounts I didn't know existed." My stomach tightened with a fresh wave of dread. "Marcus, I'm so sorry," I said, genuinely. "Don't apologize," he countered. "You're not responsible for Leo's choices." His voice softened slightly. "But I am sorry for how he treated you and the children. It was inexcusable." "Thank you for saying that," I replied, genuinely touched by his rare acknowledgement. "We're getting help," he added. "Financial counseling, marriage counseling. It's going to be a long, painful road." He paused, then, "Leo's struggling, Clara. Behind all that arrogance is someone who never felt good enough. It doesn't excuse his behavior, but maybe it explains some of it." After we hung up, I sat at my kitchen table, Marcus's words echoing in my mind. Had I, in some way, contributed to Leo's insecurities by always being the responsible one? By bailing him out repeatedly instead of letting him face genuine consequences? These were complex questions without easy answers. In the days and weeks that followed, I experienced a strange, confusing mixture of emotions. Profound liberation paired with unexpected moments of guilt, overwhelming relief shadowed by a deep sadness for the brother I had, in many ways, lost. The practical reality of my decision quickly became gloriously apparent. Without the crushing financial burden of supporting my brother, I was finally able to reduce my relentless overtime hours, allowing me to spend more quality, unhurried time with Lily and Noah. We took our first real vacation that summer, a week at a lakeside cabin where we swam, hiked, and reconnected, free from the constant pressure of financial stress. Lily and Noah, having witnessed their mother finally stand up for herself and for them, carried this invaluable lesson into their own lives. Lily became more assertive at school, confidently correcting a teacher who tried to take credit for her original research. Noah stood up to a playground bully, not with aggression, but with a calm dignity that diffused the situation entirely. "You taught us it's okay to say no to people who don't treat you right, even if they're family," Lily told me one evening as I tucked her in, her voice soft but firm. "That's important, isn't it?" "It's one of the most important lessons there is, sweetie," I agreed, kissing her forehead. "Loving someone doesn't mean letting them hurt you." A year after that fateful, explosive Thanksgiving, we gathered again for the holidays. Not in a sprawling mansion with hired servers and calculating social climbers, but in Marcus and Leo's new, modest home. The decorations were simple, the food homemade, and the atmosphere was, for the first time, genuinely warm, truly authentic. Leo, now working full-time and contributing equally to his household, had found an authentic confidence, a quiet self-assurance that his previous fragile facade had only ever desperately imitated. As we sat around their table, sharing laughter and stories, I realized that the painful, shocking revelation at last year's Thanksgiving dinner had, ultimately, been a profound gift to all of us. It had freed me from the burden of enabling. It had freed Leo from the suffocating prison of pretense. And it had freed my children from the subtle, damaging message that wealth determined worth. "I'd like to propose a toast," Marcus announced, raising his glass, a genuine, heartfelt smile on his face. "To family. Not perfect, but real. And to new beginnings." "To new beginnings," we echoed, our glasses clinking softly in the warm candlelight. That night, Driving home with my sleepy children in the back seat, I reflected on how dramatically our lives had changed in a single, tumultuous year. By standing up for myself and for my children, by bravely refusing to continue a destructive pattern, I had not only drastically improved our financial situation, but had also modeled the essential self-respect I so desperately wanted my children to develop. True worth, I had finally learned, isn't measured in designer labels or fleeting social approval. It's found in authenticity, in establishing healthy, firm boundaries, in the quiet courage to live according to your deepest values, even when doing so bravely disrupts comfortable, long-standing patterns. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for others is to stop enabling destructive behavior and insist on truth, however uncomfortable or painful it might be. As we pulled into our driveway, Lily stirred in the back seat. "Mom, are you glad about what happened last Thanksgiving? Even though it was really hard." I considered her question carefully, a gentle smile playing on my lips. "Yes, sweetheart, I am. Sometimes the hardest moments lead to the most important, life-changing transformations." "I think Uncle Leo is happier now," Noah observed sleepily from his car seat. "He laughs for real now. Not the fake laugh he used to do." Out of the mouths of babes, I thought, my smile widening at their innocent, profound perceptiveness. "I think you're absolutely right. Sometimes people get lost trying to be something they're not. Finding your way back to who you really are, that's truly the greatest gift of all."